Yeah, so I'm Thulani Masebenza, one of the co-founders of Moya, and what we do is we're building a smart money manager for freelancers, so helping them organize their cash flow, invoicing, and tax. And what makes our solution innovative is any freelancer can link their personal bank account to the app, but what makes us cool is you can also create an online digital bank account for your business to manage like your invoicing whenever you need to get paid, and to also manage your expenses.
So wait, how did you start as an entrepreneur? When did this all start for you?
We've had a bit of a long journey. So at first we were trying to solve the problem of access to finance for small businesses. But as we spoke to like tons of small businesses, like more than 50, we realized that this problem of access to finance can't be solved because most people manage their finances on paper books. So it makes it almost impossible for banks or any lender to even begin analyzing these guys' finances. So we thought, hey, let's actually go a step before and create a tool for solo business owner or anyone that's self-employed to manage their money.
So it's almost like removing the old school with the new school. Obviously, everything now is digital. Everything is moving towards that. And you said like you ran into a couple of businesses who are still doing it the old school way, like the ground level type of way. And you guys obviously saw a gap, or you saw a gap, and you said, okay, fine, this is something that you'd like to rectify.
Yeah. So yeah, this is not my first business.
Oh no, tell me
It's
more.
just the first one maybe I'm known for, but like the first thing I ever tried was actually in varsity. I think in third year I used to like sell printed t-shirts. So at the res I was staying at, I think there was like a football thing one weekend, and the gents said they needed shirts, so I printed some shirts for them, gave them shirts, and someone actually recommended that like, hey, this is the guy that makes shirts. So yeah, I started building up a portfolio of like clients, would go to like UP, Tux, print shirts for people. But yeah, that's where I got my lessons from.
So basically Varsity Cup was your field day.
Yeah.
Now Varsity Cup time, like the rugby, the soccer, athletics, I think it was, hockey and netball.
Yeah, I actually realized you'd be surprised how much stuff people print in varsity. I'm actually convinced you could have like a business and make month-on-month revenue just from printing shirts in varsity. Yeah.
So now obviously that you've digressed now from the printing of shirts, was the process, because you obviously find yourself in financial space now, was the process always easy though for you? Was it as straightforward as what it seems, especially the way you explain it now? Was there bumps in the road, or like was it just a nice smooth path carved up for you?
Nah, I think I learned all my lessons there. The first thing is like never start a business on your own. I think I just became like overwhelmed at one point. Like I also didn't have like infrastructure. So if I needed to like deliver shirts, like I'd have to put them in a bag, hop on the Gautrain, for example, go to Pretoria, deliver shirts to a client, come back, I still have to study, I still have like school.
Just you alone,
like me alone. So like managing all of that, I learned never start a business on your own, and also just like a lot of lessons around infrastructure, how you manage clients. But I think the biggest lesson I learned from that journey was just exactly that, like how to sell, what people are looking to buy, what people see as like valuable. And but it was a good journey.
Nice. And like now the journey that you're currently on now, in present time, with you being in the financial sort of sector, how has that been for you? Has that been a straight cut road? Has there been a couple of bumps,
No, to be perfectly honest, like I didn't study anything BCom or accounting related, but I think I've realized financial services might actually be one of like the most complicated sectors out there. Like the barriers to entry are high, so you need like a lot of upfront capital to get in. It's a very, very technical, so you might have like a cool idea, but you have to figure out like regulations, there's compliance, and it's a nightmare. But the thing is, it is an exciting industry because there's a lot you can do in financial services, especially in like Africa and South Africa, with regards to how you can help businesses grow. I mean, we're looking at companies like Yoko. It's not just that those guys provide some platform to help small businesses get paid. Like they're really helping small businesses in this country grow. So I think financial services, I'm not being biased, hopefully, is super exciting because there's so much opportunity in Africa to actually help people get to the next level, people to accept online payments. I think like it's really, really exciting.
So now, obviously in the light of that, like you starting off, and there's certain things that you you wish that you had known before even, going into being a sole proprietor type of thing? What are those things, aside from obviously, don't work by yourself or start a business on your own? What are some of the other stuff that you could possibly say, hey, listen, I wish I knew this back then, a couple of years or 5 or 6 years back, before even, jumping into the business sort of, or being an entrepreneur? What are those couple of things that you wish that someone just told you and said, hey, listen, Thulani, do it like this, or do it like this?
Yeah, I think the big thing is just like getting started. I think when you speak to anyone that has like a business idea, they'll ask you about things like business plans and things like that. But I feel like sometimes you can honestly just come up with an idea. Like I have someone in my network that always says every time he tries to start a business, he thinks of this idea of how can I get this thing going with 1,000 rand. And I feel like I wish a lot more people went in with that mentality.
Yes.
Like especially in the startup space, anytime someone has an idea, they want to run to a venture capital firm and raise some funding. But there's a lot you can actually get off the ground with just 1,000 rand. And if you can prove your concept with 1,000 rand, it's very likely you can prove your idea with 10,000 rand, 100,000 rand, or 1,000,000 rand to actually then scale that thing. So I think that's the biggest learning.
Would you say so most people have the misconception then that, hey, listen, I need this copious amount of capital before I even get started with anything, before I even do marketing or branding or anything of those. Like I need at least, let's say for argument's sake, 100K. I need this upfront now before I can even touch anything else. Is that a big misconception that most young entrepreneurs have?
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, like when you have a business idea, you just get into this excitement. So you think big, but which is not a bad thing. Like you should definitely think big. But once when you have that big picture vision, you need to find a way to then start small. Like how's a way, like for example, what you're saying, like how can you just get your first client? Like a lot of people underestimate in business, like how you can even get to 10 clients, how you can even get to 10 sales. Like if you're an entrepreneur and you go tell someone, let's say you start a sneaker company and you go tell someone, one of your friends, you sold 10 sneakers, none of them would be impressed. But go to any other entrepreneur and say, I sold 10 sneakers, all of them would be like, wow.
It's a win.
It's a win.
Whether it be 2 or 3, you still, did you make profit today, or did you make a break even?
Exactly.
Perfect. No, good job, type of thing. But to the untrained sort of eye or ear, it's almost like, what? You only sold
10? Like what's that?
That's nothing. Nike is selling millions by the day type of thing. But it's just about that type of mind and attitude that you need to have towards your own business.
Exactly.
And I think it's like, entrepreneurs understand entrepreneurs.
No, I think so as well.
The lingo and the mentality and the body behavior is, we just understand how things work. So like you say, if you tell me, hey, I got something today, I got a client, everyone is like, nah, well done.
Congrats.
Congrats, man. Like that means tomorrow 2 or the next day, like, you keep on building up your clientele. So I dig that, man. Do you have any regrets?
Whew, plenty. I don't even know where to start. Regrets around some of the stuff we're chatting around now, like moments where maybe we burned capital when we couldn't have, like where we shouldn't have, where we maybe could have actually just focused on like product development rather than going out and doing marketing initiatives. But you learn these things. Unfortunately, that's just the way entrepreneurship is. School, you go to school, you study, you write your test. Entrepreneurship, the test is the failure, and then that's where the learning comes from, and that's where you make notes of, I won't do this direction again, I won't do things like this. And unfortunately, that's just how things are. What's that concept? People just use school fees.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's just how entrepreneurship is. But by the time you hit like year 2 or year 3, you've learned everything you need to. And that's why most people look like an overnight success.
Or they have a conception that, this happened just like this. But like you say, I think that there's so much more work that goes into it. The planning, getting your team together, those type of things, way before the conception even starts. So by the time that people see how the business is flowing and how profitable it is, and you guys are doing good, they always think or have that conception that, Thulani did this yesterday, type of thing, and now he's booming, but not really knowing the behind the scenes, the late nights, the stress, all those sort of things that come together into making a successful business. But is there any other regrets that you possibly have in the light of your journey?
I can't think of anything else from the top of my head, but I'm sure everything else is pretty much embarrassing, to be honest. So I'm not sure I'd want to share it either way.
Yo.
I don't need like people sending like laughing emojis under you guys. It's like, yeah.
The comments are like, oh, damn, you should have left that one out. They posted it. What do you think can be done to encourage economic growth in South Africa?
I definitely do think more people starting businesses, because at the end of the day, and it's always wrong, because like this problem of solving like this thing in our country shouldn't just be left to business owners alone. But at the end of the day, we do need more businesses and companies in any economy, not just South Africa. Because if you think of like the way money flows, it always flows to businesses, whether you have a business or whether you work for someone. Even if I work at another company, like in a typical 9 to 5, and I get paid a salary, I'm going to pay rent, so Bowen's going to get paid. I'm going to buy groceries, Pick and Pay, Woolworths is going to get paid. So the flow of money is always going to go to businesses. So the more businesses we have, obviously employ more people and increases the way money flows. So I think for us to be able to solve this thing, we need to find ways to help young people create more companies. And I think we just need to be brave in this country, because it almost seems like there's this fear of giving young people capital to start companies. And I think if we're going to solve it, we just need to just be brave enough to actually back a couple of young people's ideas. Not all of them will work, but if 4 out of 10 can work, it's going to make a big difference.
Would you then, well, in the same sentence, would you then say, let's say that a lot of these big companies don't really trust the experience that youngsters have when it comes to the ideas, hence why they'd rather go with someone or a business idea that has some sort of, mileage on it, if that makes any sense, or the person itself has a bit of mileage on it in comparison to, let's say, a 22-year-old or 20-year-old.
No, 100%. Like you put it perfectly. It's exactly that, like mileage, that, they can at least look at someone and make the assumption that this guy has a track record. So it's safer that the money is going to this guy, But the way I'd like to think, if you look at most breakout companies, it's started by people below 35 years old. Like, I know the general trend is that most successful businesses are started by people later in their lives, which is true. But if you look at most breakout companies, it's definitely people before 35.
Damn, I didn't know that. I didn't know that young stat. I won't lie, I didn't know. Okay, here's the time now to be motivational. What advice would you have or would you like to give to the youth in South Africa who are looking to be entrepreneurs themselves?
Yeah, I think just starting to build stuff. I think people always have this misconception that to get into business, you need to start a business. You need to run to CIPC. But you pick up the skills of business in many different ways. Like even being part of a club in university, you'll learn the skills of leadership, which you need to manage a team. Starting an event, you'll learn the skills of budgeting, which is actually very important, because in entrepreneurship, you need to have a plan month on month on how you're using money, So even just doing like a little event with your friends, you'll learn that skill of things cost this much and this is how you budget, and sometimes things go above and beyond. So my advice is just like get involved in stuff, like just be a part of something. You don't always have to go and formally start a business with the CIPC and have Instagram and everything. Just be a part of something. Be a part of something in your community, help out people, but just be a part of stuff that requires you to use your skills of how you build stuff and be proactive in life. For me, it comes from a song. Won't mention the artist, won't mention the song title, but basically the quote is, difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week.